You know, people say, well, you know, I'm northern latitude, right? And that's where it gets muddy, because you can talk about circadian biology and you can talk about light and everything, but it's very subject to each case, each individual, because each individual is subject to the hundreds of thousands of years that they evolved at a certain place on the planet. Mm-hmm. Before planes, trains, and automobiles, like, this is the question that's interesting to me that I ask a lot of people. Is like, why is it, and if you can explain this, then you understand what I'm talking about. Why is it that sub-Saharan Africans, Kenyans, Ethiopians, Ugandans win every single medal event when it comes to long distance running and marathons? The Boston Marathon, New York Marathon, they always win. Mm-hmm. Caucasian has never done it. And why is it that the world's strongest man has never been won by a sub-Saharan or any melanated person ever? If you understand
I never even thought of this.
The thermodynamic givens that those two humans, and this is the thing, chimps share 99% of our DNA, but chimps look like chimps. There's no Brian Shaw chimps.
Right.
And there's no, Usain Bolt chimps.
Right.
So what is responsible? Why are humans so sensitive in adapting to their environments? And why does the environment create such unique thermodynamic properties in someone who's, let's say, Thor, from Iceland, right? Mm-hmm. When you understand that, like, blue light causes sugar, right? You can also understand how northern latitude people, in the absence of sun and long winter days, were able to create metabolic heat from cold. Cold thermogenesis creates more mitochondria in the brown fat. You have more mitochondrial machinery. You have more of the components to heat your body in the presence of cold. Mm-hmm. So you're basically creating heat from cold.
Now, is that why the whole, like, there's this new crave with, like, have you seen, like, the cold mitts?
Yeah.
Of people, like, putting their hands in the cold and then lifting. And they're stronger?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that kind of similar? Or?
It's similar, but just cryotherapy in general helps, let's say, there's a spectrum. It's mostly the type of genetic phenotype, the type of background genetically that would live or has ancestry that lived in northern latitudes that had cold exposure.
So cold exposure.
They benefit the most from cold thermogenesis. But this is the mind blower. I told you about the sub-Saharan Africans and why they always win, because they're getting electron exchange directly from the sun, because melanin is a wide-based semiconductor that takes electrons directly through the skin into the electron train transport, which creates ATP. So they're literally light as food, UV light, and their melanin makes them thermodynamically efficient. They don't have to have any food.
So they don't get tired.
They don't get tired. They run forever. They go right past the carb Gatorade thing. They just keep running.
Right.
Well, uncoupled mitochondria, the uncoupling effect of the mitochondria, they're not as thermodynamically efficient, but they created this adaptation where more brown fat, more mitochondrial machinery from brown fat and metabolic, and then you had only the substrate of food available was animal fats and proteins. Mm-hmm. So what do you have? You got Thors, you got monsters, a lot of body heat, a lot of metabolism, protecting themselves from cold. They don't have to run from lions. They have to worry about freezing their ass off.
Right.
So that is produced
that's why they're huge and
massive people that are so strong.
I wonder why are we seeing all the Russians dominating MMA?
That's a work ethic thing, right?
Yeah.
That's
because they're wrestling bears at age 3.
Exactly. They're Khabibing.
Yeah.
They're Khabibing. But the other anomaly in the anthropological record of humans is Sherpas.
What?
Sherpas. I'm bringing the Sherpas to the podcast. So Sherpas are basically, they live in the steppe of the Himalayas. Yeah. And they're basically this unique ethnic group in the Himalayas that have been exposed to high latitude, cold, and UV light from the albedo effect, from the reflection, from the white. Those three factors, they're the strongest people pound for pound on the planet.
Really?
Absolutely. Look into it.
The Sherpas.
150 pounds average, 5'6". They can carry 3 times their body weight.
Where did you find this?
10,000 feet. They carry human beings, fat Westerners like us.
Yeah.
They carry us down 10,000 feet in the cold with no oxygen, limited oxygen.
Right.
Under, like, stepping on rocks and ice. They're the strongest people on the planet. And the reason why is because of the thermodynamic givens, the environmental factors that attribute to it. You're kicking on all cylinders because you're talking about UV light, high UV light. You're talking about cold, so cold thermogenesis, so more mitochondria. And then you're talking about more hemoglobin, low oxygen.
Right.
So all those factors together produces the most, and they're not muscular. They have a balance between fast and slow twitch fibers. They're not big.
So do you think there's a lesson in this from a longevity protocol standpoint that we can, you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, because all I'm hearing now is like, how can I mimic this and how can I, right?
Biohack the Sherpa.
Yeah, but how do we biohack the Sherpa?
That's it. Hyperbaric chamber.
Okay.
Right? Cryotherapy and saunas. And infrared or UV light exposure.
Yeah.
You can do all those things. Yeah.
So,
You're talking about the real Brian Johnson biohack to use the biological thermodynamic givens to increase the thermodynamic efficiency of the organism, because it's all about energy. If you can be more dynamic and more efficient with energy, upregulating energy, downregulating waste products, expanding, contracting, dilating, constricting, all of those factors, all those things in play.
Do you think there's a specific protocol that's better than others, or do you think just fit it in?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm sure there's.
Yeah,
if we like broke it down.
Joe Rogan had David Goggins on his podcast. I think it was his most recent one, where he mentioned that he knew a guy who was diagnosed with prostate cancer. Okay. His PSA was like really high, and instead of getting the biopsy and going through all the very invasive kind of protocols, he said, you know what? I'm 55 years old. I'm going to just try, lifestyle changes. I'm going to see what happens. One of his friends told him, you should try cryotherapy. So basically, he did cryotherapy first. Then he worked out. Then he went in the sauna. And he fasted during that time. So
daily? That was like his routine.
That was his routine, 5 days a week. His PSA went to 0. His growth hormone went up 1,300%.
Oh, I did hear about this. Yeah, I remember.
His testosterone is a 28-year-old, 30-year-old. He's like, what an annoying thing to have to do this protocol, because now I have, forever boners. I can't control this thing. It's like I'm an 18-year-old now. And I think that there's something to that. I think that there's something to upregulating the mitochondria through the brown fat adipose tissue, through cold therapy. Then you're having to warm your body up in the workout. So you're burning more calories from fat, right? Because if you're on this kind of keto or intermittent fasting, you're burning, you got ketones going on, you're burning more fat calories because you raised your BMR because you're cold. Now you're hitting it from the other angle where you're working out. So you're exercising muscle. And then as long as you're exercising muscle and then you're using heat post, which stimulates growth hormone, now you've just created the environment to be ultra receptive to, everything that controls muscle anabolism, everything that controls, metabolism efficiency, everything that controls endocrine function. All those things are just like primed. So I think that would be in here a game changer. You drop that.
Well, we have so all right. So if y'all write this down, all right. So you're supposed to show up to Legacy, get in the cold plunge first. Once you get out, go straight into a pit class. Do the pit class. Then after the pit class, we're going straight into the sauna. Then after the sauna, you can go eat.
That's it. Yeah, let's say if you did 3 minutes, or is it nitrogen, liquid nitrogen cooled?
No, ours is a real deal cold plunge, so 36 degrees.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So you get in the water. Yeah. You're in the water, and you're talking about 5 minutes mostly, right?
3 to 5 minutes, yes,
so 3 to 5 minutes, you're in there. Then you do a 30, 40-minute HIIT class. Yep. Right? And then you're in the sauna 20 minutes. That's perfect. Yeah. You're talking about an hour in and out.
Right. Like anybody can do that.
And what's amazing about this protocol is it's kind of like the EBs, those electrostim things. They're big, right? Yep. What you're in essence doing is you're stimulating contraction, max contraction, as if you were under max exertion, but you're not impacting the joint. This is similar. Interesting. So you're manipulating all the factors to benefit, to make your work harder. you're doing less work, but because you have all these other factors contributing to making your work harder, you don't have to. You just have to do less time. You know, the intensity has to be high,
right?
But it's short duration, high intensity.
Yeah.
But then you got all these other metabolic and thermodynamic
It's
factors.
making everything more efficient.
That's it.
And it's making your time more efficient.
Absolutely.
That's one of the things that people struggle with is like, oh, I don't have the time to do all this stuff. And
you'd be surprised.
Well, we just helped you.
You get out of that cold plunge and you got all that dopamine, like more than cocaine. You're like, oh, I got time, baby.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, I love this kind of stuff. This kind of biohacking stuff with just producing results and like radical changes in body composition. And then in turn, what you see long-term as the studies support is a diminishment in all-cause mortality.
Yes.
So that's another
I've seen Huberman kind of like break all that down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All those guys understand, like, imagine, you know, putting these things together, procuring these different upsales from a business perspective, but these services specific to the client.
Right.
You manipulating these different thermodynamic things that are all about our natural environment that turn on and off genes, and just specifically targeting this person for what they want to do. I work out for mental clarity and I want less inflammation. Great. Here's your protocol.
Right.
Boom.
Yeah.
Or I just want to get big. I want to hypertrophy my muscles. I want to get big. You know, I'm 25 years old. I wanted to play ball and I missed my physique, whatever. You can just procure all those things systematically. Right. Just boom, 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 boom.
Yep.
And dude, you talk about like that. You don't need steroids.
No.
You don't need steroids.
Well,
you don't
especially at 25, you definitely don't need steroids.
Definitely don't.
God,
I know.
I was 240 all natural. Trust me, you don't need.
Yeah,
you don't need steroids.
Yeah, hang around some 300-pound guys, and then you realize you don't need them.
Yeah, we just had a bunch of dudes here,
just lifting, man.
Yeah, getting after.
There's other humans out there, isn't there?
It's pretty amazing, right?
It is.
Yeah, I've worked with some impressive individuals.
That's crazy, right?
It's incredible. It's incredible.
And they attribute.
And they just keep getting bigger and faster and stronger.